I was singled out, judged, and called a lover by neighbors who barely knew me. I spent days hiding, crying, thinking the world had turned against me, until, in the middle of a meeting in the building's lobby, his mother-in-law stood up and told the truth. In public. In front of everyone. At first, I didn't understand what was happening. The atmosphere in the building changed overnight. The neighbors who had previously greeted me with a smile began to look away. The doorman, always polite, now barely looked up at me. And, no matter how hard I tried to ignore it, the whispers began to surround me, in the elevator, in the parking garage, in the WhatsApp group, until one day, a resident of 302 blurted out, almost as if it were a venomous compliment, "You attract attention, don't you? There are people there who can't stop talking about you, and 407. I was confused. I didn't understand what apartment 407 had to do with me. The resident there was married, the father of a small boy. We always greeted each other politely. Nothing more. There was never any intimacy. There was never any conversation beyond what was necessary, but that's when the penny dropped. The so-called polite friendship was being distorted. Empty people, with time to spare and little character, began to invent a story that never existed. They said I hit on him. That he was always on my floor. That I was too nice for a single woman. The expression I heard most, whispered between the lines, was, "She must be a lover." The first time I heard that, it hurt like a knife. Lover? Me, the neighborhood turned me into a character. A stereotype, just because I'm a woman. Because I live alone. Because I take care of myself, I hold my head high, and I don't bend over backward to please anyone. And the cruelest part, no one came to ask. No one wanted to know if it was true, they simply created their own version. Little by little, I became the building suspect. I began to notice doors closing as I passed. Mothers pulling their children by the arm. Mean comments being deleted from the condominium group, too late, because I had already read them. And why all this? Because I had the audacity to exist. To live alone. To be polite to someone who, unfortunately, was married to an insecure woman and surrounded by an even worse family. Yes, his wife also began treating me coldly. Greetings turned to silence. Stares became daggers, and then the story grew. One day, on my way back from the supermarket, I passed two residents talking in the hallway. They stopped talking when they saw me, but one of them, more daring, blurted out, "Some people don't see themselves. They think it's nice to get involved in other people's families." The other laughed, and I had to swallow my anger to keep my reason. That night, I cried. I cried like I hadn't cried in a long time, not because of what they were saying, but because of what they were trying to take from me, my peace, my truth, my dignity. I felt surrounded. Alone. Helpless, and the worst part was that, even though I was innocent, I began to doubt myself. Was I too nice? Had I smiled at the wrong moment? Had he misinterpreted something and moved on? But no. I knew who I was. And what I wasn't. I wasn't anyone's lover. I was just the perfect target for a neighborhood willing to judge, condemn, and stone me, without any proof. And all the while, the resident of 407 remained silent. He didn't deny it, but he didn't confirm it either. He didn't take a stand. He just watched the circus burn. And that's when I realized, his silence spoke volumes, but the truth was yet to come, and when it did, it didn't come from my mouth. It came from the one person no one expected, his mother-in-law. And in front of everyone, being accused of something you didn't do is painful enough. Now, being accused by people around you, and then seeing it spread as if it were the absolute truth, is a kind of silent punishment that kills you a little. Inside, after the rumors took over the building, my life became a series of embarrassments. Every trip to the garage, every return trip to the bakery, every second in the elevator was a parade of invisible judgments. No one said anything directly. But the looks said it all. The words, lover, homewrecker, opportunist, began to become too frequent in the whispers I pretended not to hear. I began to change my own habits, trying to avoid the disturbance. I started going out at different times, avoided using the building's common areas, and when I saw someone in the elevator, I waited for the next ride. It wasn't out of embarrassment, it was out of protection. Because every charged silence I faced hurt like a slap. The cruelest thing was seeing the effect this had on the people close to me. My sister came to visit me and commented, surprised, "What a strange atmosphere. It's like they're looking at you. Like you're a criminal." I explained to her what was happening. She was outraged. She wanted to post, report, confront. But I, at that point, was exhausted. I just wanted peace. I just wanted it to end, and the resident of 407, he continued to pretend nothing was happening. He carried on with his life as normal. He went out with his wife. He played with his son. He walked past me with a look as if he'd never heard anything, and that hurt me even more, because, while on one hand, I was the target of stares and judgment, on the other, he was protected by the cloak of male silence. He could continue living with me. I couldn't. The condominium's WhatsApp group became an extension of the evil, generic comments about respect among neighbors, morals, family, all with clear innuendo. One day, I read a message that said, "It's impossible that some people are clueless. This guy's wife is pregnant and there are still people trying to get involved." That destroyed me, not only because it was a lie, but because now I was being attacked even for a pregnancy I didn't even know existed. I went to bed that day with a weight on my chest that barely fit on my body. I began to question everything. I looked in the mirror and tried to understand what I had done to deserve so much. So many others lived alone, so many others were nice. Why me? Was I an easy target because I didn't have a husband? Because I wouldn't keep quiet? For having the misfortune of living on the wrong floor, at the wrong time, and greeting the wrong neighbor? I began to doubt myself. To shut myself up. To shrink, and that's exactly what gossip does. It doesn't scream, it sucks. It takes away the desire to smile, the lightness of your steps, the firmness of your voice. You start to think it's better to hide than to face it, and that's what happened to me. I hid. I stopped participating in the life of the building. I stopped responding to good mornings, because I no longer knew if they were genuine or just tests. I started avoiding his wife, even though I knew I owed her nothing, and finally, I began to consider the saddest idea of all, moving. Yes. I seriously considered leaving, selling the apartment, starting over somewhere else, where no one knew me, where no one would call me the mistress of 407. But before I could make that decision, fate decided to intervene, and the truth I never imagined I'd hear came from the mouth of the person I least expected, his mother. Law. I in front of everyone. I in public. No mincing words, and, that day, everything changed. It all started with an innocent invitation in the condominium group. It was a Saturday afternoon, and the building manager announced a small get-together in the lobby to celebrate the building's anniversary. A communal coffee, with residents bringing cakes, juices, snacks, nothing special. I, honestly, wasn't going. I was tired, exhausted, still trying to digest the burden of being labeled the mistress without ever having crossed the line of respect, but it was my sister who insisted, "You're going. You can't live hiding. Show up, be present, show that you have nothing to fear." I took a deep breath and went. Head held high, even with a queasy stomach. The room was full. Many people from the building, side conversations, muffled giggles. I felt like a stranger in my own home. There was clearly a group watching me, 3 neighbors who always spread the worst stories about me, and then she arrived, the mother-in-law of the resident of 407. A woman with a striking presence, impeccable hair, and a firm voice. We had never spoken. But I knew who she was, and she clearly knew who I was, too. She greeted everyone politely and sat next to her daughter, his wife. The 3 of them, she, her daughter, and her son-in-law, were there, together, smiling. I, on the other side of the room, tried not to look, just tried to exist in peace, until, after a short speech from the building manager, something absolutely unbelievable happened. The mother-in-law of 407 raised her hand and asked to speak. Excuse me. I need to say something that's been stuck in my throat for weeks. The room fell silent. Everyone looked at her, and her daughter tried to restrain her. Mom, let it go, but she was firm. No. It's past time for the truth to come out. Because this young lady here, she pointed directly at me, was judged, humiliated, and accused of being my son-in-law's lover. And that's a lie. The ground disappeared beneath my feet. I froze. I didn't know whether to run away, cry, or kneel in gratitude, but I stayed. Because that was the first time in history that someone had the courage to speak up for me. The woman took a deep breath and continued. He confessed to me himself. He said he made up that story as an excuse because his wife confronted him about a conversation with an ex. To distract him, he blamed the neighbor. He said she was always insinuating herself, that she was after him. All lies. He used her as a shield. And you, like a flock, believed it. The commotion was widespread. His wife was paralyzed, in shock, her eyes welling up. Her son-in-law tried to intervene, saying that his mother was getting things mixed up. But it was too late. The truth had already been told. Out loud. In public. For everyone to hear. I'm ashamed of having listened to this nonsense in silence for so long, she continued. This girl is a victim. And you all should apologize to her. Because what you did wasn't just gossip, it was cruel. I was speechless. People started looking at me differently. Now it was shock. Silence. Shame. The same mouths that had previously whispered my name with malice were now silent. The same people who had pointed to me as the culprit didn't know where to hide their faces, and in that moment, something inside me healed. The pain was still there. But with it came an immense relief. A sense of justice, of reparation, of clarity. It wasn't me who said anything. It was the truth, coming from the mouth of someone no one expected, and for someone who said, the truth always comes out. It did. In the middle of the room, with a full audience, and with enough force to turn everything upside down. After what happened in the room, nothing was the same again. The neighborhood, which had previously treated me as if I were a threat, now walked the hallways with their eyes on the ground. The change was immediate and silent. Those fake good mornings disappeared. The jokes disguised as gossip ceased. The elevator cliques that stopped talking when I entered dissolved. It was as if everyone was ashamed. And they should have been. The most curious thing was to see how people avoided even the name 407. The couple, now visibly in crisis, barely left the house. The man who invented it all disappeared from their company. He didn't attend any more gatherings. His wife, previously cold and aggressive toward me, stared at me once in the hallway with teary eyes. But she said nothing, and me, I continued walking the same hallways. With the same posture, but this time, with something different, clean dignity. Some residents tried to approach, with those excuses disguised as conversation. You're okay, right? We didn't even really know. These stories always have two sides, don't they? But I didn't need their validation, because the truth had already done what it needed to. It didn't need an audience. It didn't need applause. It just needed to be told, and it was. One of the neighbors, the same one who spread the first rumors, found me in the garage and, for the first time, was speechless. She tried to smile, lowered her eyes, and walked by. She didn't have the courage to apologize, but her silence was louder than any forced forgiveness. His mother-in-law, that brave woman who spoke out in public, came to me days later. I'm sorry I took so long. I should have spoken sooner. But I needed to see with my own eyes what they were doing to you. I hugged that woman, because, of all the voices in that crowd of judges, she was the only one who stood up, and for that, she earned my eternal respect. But what surprised me most was what came from within. After so much time being attacked, judged, belittled, I thought I'd want revenge. That I'd want everyone to pay for what they did, but no. I just wanted to move on in peace. I didn't wish anyone any harm. I didn't expose anyone more than necessary. I didn't make a scene. I didn't demean myself, because, in the end, I won in the best way possible, in silence, with truth, and with my head held high. And the lesson that remained? It's that a lie repeated 1,000 times may even seem true, but a truth spoken just once, with courage, has the power to silence 1,000 voices. And for anyone who's been through something similar, for anyone who's been called something they never were, for anyone who's had their reputation trampled by people who don't even know you, I understand you. I've been there, but I'll tell you one thing, don't lower your head. Don't let other people's versions define you, because the truth, it always finds a way to come out, and when it does, it shines so brightly that it blinds even those who tried to extinguish it. If this story touched you, like it, subscribe to the channel, and comment. Have you ever been the victim of a lie that almost destroyed your peace?